Hey guys, I'm the Crazy Dane, and today I wanted to talk about Warframe. Warframe is a third-person, free-to-play shooter and hack-and-slash ninja game. You're basically a space ninja that's running around killing things for a certain reward, which could be a blueprint for another Warframe or a weapon of any kind. This game involves a lot of grinding, and of course a lot of hacking and slashing and killing people in different ways and running around playing ninja with each of the different warframes, and each of the different warframes have got a different set of abilities. The warframe I'm playing at the moment is called the Necros, and it's more or less the master of death. I can disintegrate fallen enemies so they drop additional loot, and I can also terrify them, which is more or less a fear ability, and I can also raise the previous enemies that I've slain from the dead, so they can help me and assist me in combat, as you'll see me do here. The biggest downside to this game, as I see it, is that it involves a lot of grinding, and I'm not all that excited about grinding. And the way this free-to-play model works is that if you don't want to grind, you can use real-world money and you can buy your way to the end game. But there's no weapon or warframe or any sort of item that you can only get through real-world currency. You can get all of the items just by grinding as well. The way this free-to-play model works is that you can just get it a bit quicker if you pay using real-world money. And even the currency gained from using real-world money, called platinum, can be achieved in-game by trading and selling stuff, so you can even get those as well, so you don't even have to pay money to get them. And so far I'm really enjoying Warframe. I use it as my casual everyday gaming. I spend a few hours a day playing it because it's fun and I get my daily inner ninja satisfied by playing this because of the gameplay, which is just really fulfilling. I love jumping around, running up and down and sideways on walls and slashing enemies and using all sets of different abilities for my advantage and killing enemies in all sorts of different ways. And each of the different warframe have got their own set of abilities and elemental type of abilities, which makes each of the warframes play differently. They have a different play style, and whether or not you're in a group, you have a different play style. You can do well on your own, you can do well in a group. Some are better in groups and some are better solo play. So I use different warframes to different sorts of group play. Now, I just wanted to quickly show you all of the warframes and just give you an overview of them. And the warframes abilities is kind of in the name. So the Ember Warframe uses fire, the Frost uses frost abilities, the Mirage uses illusions, the Mag uses magnetic energy, the Loki is the Deception Warframe, the Rhino is the most tanky Warframe, the Siren uses poison, the Necros is the master of the death, the Hydroid uses water, the Vauban uses traps, and so on. So you can more or less tell what the warframe does just by the name of it. The way to obtain the different warframes and the different kind of weapons are through blueprints. Well, that's if you are not going to pay for it. If you're going to pay using real world money, you can of course gain them instantaneously. But if you want to farm them, you have to search the internet to see which kind of enemy or which kind of boss drops this certain kind of mod for either your warframe or your weapon or companions. And you can also gain blueprints from certain kind of mobs for weapons or warframes from any sort of boss or enemy. You can level each of your weapons and warframes to a max rank of rank 30, which increases the mod capacity, which is, well, modifications for your weapon. You can increase the slash damage for, as an example, the Reaper weapon that I'm using now, so it does more damage, or you can increase the critical strike damage or the critical strike chance for any given weapon. And as well with the warframe, you can increase your health, you can increase your shield, your stamina, your vitality, and so on. You can increase the mod capacity by using a Orokin reactor or Orokin catalyst, so you double the mod capacity on either your warframe or your weapon. Now, when it comes to enemies, there's three factions. The one that I'm fighting in this clip is called Infested, and they are just a fleshy type. They haven't got shield, they haven't got much armor. The faction that was in the beginning of this video where I was playing my Necros was called the Grineer faction. They've got a lot of armor and they are more resistant to incoming damage, and they don't have a shield as well. And the faction that I'm fighting right now on my Ash Warframe, my favorite Warframe, is called the Corpus Faction. This faction is kind of a robotic machinery sort of faction. They've got some humanoids and they've got shields. And they are a pain in the ass to get through, but this is their defense because they haven't got as much armor as the Grineer faction or as much health as the Infested faction. Each of these factions have got different sort of defensive mechanisms, and there's different ways to deal with those different sort of factions and their weaknesses and their strong points. And all of the different weapons have got some strong points and weak points as well. The weapons that I'm using right now are the Hiko Prime throwing stars. They've got a lot of puncture damage. And puncture is really good against armor because it punctures the armor. Then there's impact damage, which is really good against Corpus Faction because this deals very well with shields and machinery. And then there's the last physical damage type, which is Slash, the one that I'm using right now with my melee samurai sword. And Slash is great against Infested because they haven't got shield and as much armor as the other different factions. So Slash is really good against Flash. Of course, there's some melee weapons that does a lot of puncture if you use some sort of daggers, or if you use a bow staff or mace or any sort of weapon like that, you use impact damage. So there's also different sort of melee weapons for each of the different class. The bow that I'm using right now, the Paris Prime, has got a lot of puncture damage, so it's really good against Grineer. And through mods you can of course increase the impact or the slash or the puncture damage of any given weapon, and there's some weapons that have got the same basic physical damage all around, and other weapons like my Paris Prime bow, which is really good puncture damage and is more or less only for puncture damage. And of course there's elemental damage types as well: fire, frost, toxin, electric. And you can use these against each of the different factions. Of course, as with the physical damage, some elemental types are great against one faction but worse against the other, and you can actually combine two to create a third elemental damage type. If you combine fire and ice, you use blast, which is more or less what it says. It blasts people, it knocks them down. Now, overall, I really enjoyed this game. I've had tons of fun and I've spent a lot of hours playing this game. And I can really recommend it for you guys. But remember, you do not have to use any sort of money for this game. You can grind it all out and use it as a casual, relaxing game when you do not feel like being competitive in a first-person shooter, or you do not feel like going to a raid in World of Warcraft. So, yeah, that's about it for this time, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one.